Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about an economic system that's guided by a whole lot more than just supply and demand. We're talking about a complete worldview, one that's deeply rooted in faith and ethics. So let's just dive right in. I mean, seriously, what if an entire economic system had a moral compass built right into its DNA? That's really the core question we're digging into here. It completely challenges this idea that economics has to be separate from our values, our spirituality, and, our responsibilities to each other. And this slide just lays it all out, right? On the one hand, you've got the conventional view that many of us are used to, where economics is treated like this value-free science. It's all about efficiency, utility, maximizing profit. But on the other hand, you have the Islamic worldview, where you literally can't separate economic activity from its moral and social impact. They're woven together. So to really get this, we have to start with the foundational beliefs. This isn't just a different set of rules for the market. It's a completely different way of seeing the world itself. And it helps to have a little context. For a long time now, especially after the Enlightenment, conventional economics has tried to move away from morality. It became a science focused on what is, not what should be. And that separation is really the key point of contrast here. Okay, so this brings us to the three big ideas that everything else is built on. First, you have Tawheed, which is the belief in one God as the ultimate owner and lawgiver. From that flows Khilafah, this powerful idea that humans don't actually own the Earth's resources. We're just trustees or stewards taking care of them. And that leads to the third principle, Adl, which means that every single economic action has to be aimed at creating socioeconomic justice. It's not optional, it's the whole point. And building on those principles, we get to this crucial concept, Maqasid al-Sharia. Honestly, the best way to think about this is like the ultimate mission statement for the entire economy. The goal isn't just to make money, it's to promote real, comprehensive human well-being. So what does that framework actually protect? Well, it boils down to these 5 essentials for a healthy society: faith, life, intellect, family, and wealth. And that last one, the protection of wealth, is so important. The goal isn't to protect individual fortunes for their own sake, but to safeguard wealth so it can do good for the whole community. Okay, so that's the big picture philosophy. But how does it actually change the way money moves around? Let's take a look at how this moral marketplace is designed. Right. We've all seen this diagram in our first economics class, haven't we? Money flows from households to businesses when we buy stuff, and it flows back from businesses to households as wages and profits. It's a simple two-way street. But Islamic economics looks at that and says, wait, something's missing. It introduces a crucial third sector. This is a dedicated channel for social welfare and charity, funded by things like zakat, which is an obligatory annual donation. This isn't some add-on or an afterthought. It's a core part of the economic engine. It's a direct application of that principle of justice we just talked about, making sure wealth actually circulates to those who need it most. And when you have a different structure like that, it also means people start making decisions differently. So let's zoom in on the consumer for a second. And you can really see the difference when you put them side by side. The conventional consumer's main goal is to maximize their own personal utility, right? It's based on whatever they prefer. But for the Islamic consumer, the goal is something called falah, which is this amazing holistic idea of well-being, guided by divine principles. And this last part is so key. Wealth isn't seen as your personal possession. It's a trust and amana from God. Now, this idea of wealth being a trust leads directly to this powerful principle of moderation. So, unlike the whole more is always better assumption we sometimes see, there are clear ethical lines drawn in the sand. You're meant to avoid extravagance, or israf, and wastefulness, tabzir. But just as importantly, you have to avoid miserliness. Hoarding wealth and not letting it circulate is seen as just as bad as wasting it. So what does that look like in practice? Well, it creates this really clear set of priorities for how you should use your money. First, you fulfill the needs of yourself and your family. Then you help out relatives who might be struggling. After that, you give charity to others in the wider community who are in need. And only then do you focus on saving for the future. It's like a built-in roadmap for responsible spending. All right, now let's get to the part you've probably heard about, the financial system. This is probably the most famous feature of Islamic economics, and it's built on a radically different foundation than what most of us are used to. And here is the fundamental shift. Conventional finance is all about risk transfer. The lender gives you money, and they're protected by interest.
all the risk is transferred to you, the borrower. You have to pay it back no matter what. Islamic finance, on the other hand, is based on risk sharing. The person with the money and the person with the business idea, they're partners. They're in it together. They either succeed together or they fail together. So one of the main ways they do this is with something called mudaraba. And it's a really elegant idea, actually. One partner puts up 100% of the money, and the other partner provides all of the expertise and the management. You can think of it as a formal partnership between capital and know-how. And you can see it right here. It's not a loan, it's not a one-way street of debt. It's a true partnership, bringing that capital and that expertise together to create something new. So how does it actually work? Well, if the business makes money, the profits are split based on a ratio they both agreed on from the very beginning. But, and this is a big but, if there's a financial loss, it's the capital provider who absorbs it. The manager just loses their time and effort. This system makes sure that financing is always tied directly to productive, real-world activities. And then there's another key tool called musharaka. This is a lot more like what we might think of as a joint venture. In this case, everybody puts in some capital and everybody shares in both the profits and, if it comes to it, the losses. It's all about building things together collaboratively. So when you put all of these principles and structures and financial tools together, what's the end game? I mean, what does economic success actually look like in this kind of system? The ultimate goal is falah. And this is so much bigger than just watching GDP grow or maximizing shareholder value. It's a really rich, holistic vision of success, one that includes the spiritual, the moral, and the material prosperity of every single person in society. It's about everyone flourishing. So all this kind of leaves us with a final, really thought-provoking question. In a world that's so often shaken by financial crises, fueled by debt, could a system that's built on shared risk and genuine partnership actually offer a more stable, maybe even a more just path forward? Something to think about.